friends, what's up, Park Pals? Called your friends and Park Pals at the same time. Wanted to take a quick moment and just remind you that we now have a Patreon. Oh my God. So if you are looking for ways to be more involved, aka get exclusive access to new episodes, videos, you can ask our questions or ask our guests questions that no one else is going to get to ask them. Maybe questions that I wouldn't even think to ask because, you know, everybody has different questions. And so what you can do right at this second is go to patreon.com/parkpalspodcast, aka the PPPPPPPP. And you can sign up. It's $8 a month. That's it. And there's a whole little community in there. You can post things. We can chat. We can just stay connected and build this community, much like Pawnee is a community. You know what I'm saying? Bringing it all back. So this week we have a re-release with Burly. He's one of our most favoritist people in the whole world. Every time we have a question, he answers us. And so I just need to re-release his episode for you guys because it's been a minute and some of you are new and Burly's the best. We have an intro coming up after the theme song, so you'll get to hear all that good stuff. But in the meantime, if you haven't rated or reviewed, please help us do that. I'm not above asking for help on that one. So please scroll down to the bottom of your phone and click write a review. Don't just do the 5 stars. You better write a review too. It can be literally one word. I don't even care. It can just be great! Exclamation point. Really helps us get in the algorithm and help people find us, and that way we can build this amazing community and keep doing the podcast for you. And then that's a free way to support the show. And then share the show with a Park Pal. You know what I mean? It's still fun to listen to if people don't watch the show, but also I guess it would be weird to listen to that if you don't listen to the show. But either way, all right, well, I will turn you over to our episode with Burly. Thank you so much for listening, and yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Follow us on Instagram, follow/donate/join our Patreon. It's all linked in our bio. It's all linked in the show notes. It's all linked on our Instagram. I mean, goodness, there's everywhere you can find it. Okay, I'll talk to you guys soon, and you guys have an awesome weekend, all the things. We're rooting for you. I'm Holly Constant.
And I'm Maddie Hockaday. We really love Parks and Rec, and we really love behind-the-scenes details.
So we're researching everything from DVD extras like deleted scenes and commentaries,
plus interviewing cast and crew who actually worked on the show.
We also bring on guests and friends to geek out about everything parks.
So join us, you tropical fish.
This is literally the best Parks and Rec rewatch podcast.
We're your Park Pals.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
Awesome! Hello, everyone, and welcome to Park Pals.
Welcome. We have another special guest for you guys today. We're just sprinkling all the guests in the beginning of the year, so it's a nice little present.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that was like a December thing, actually. Like I was just messaging a bunch of people, and lo and behold, they all messaged back. So yeah, in a great way. But
like a Christmas present that's lasted for months.
Literally, great way to put it. Great way to put it. But yeah, today we have the amazing Andrew Burlinson, aka Burly. And now I feel like we've talked to him. I can definitely call him Burly because we're friends, I would say. And I feel like that's partially like a Leslie friend almost, where she just thinks everyone's her friend. But I think that we're friendly now.
You are Leslie. Embrace it.
That is true. So, but yeah, oh my gosh, we had a really lovely time talking to him. He was super chill. I felt like we could have talked to him. And I say this for a couple of people, but especially him and Mel. I really feel like I could have talked to them for like 1,000 hours and we could just go grab a beer together. Do you know what I mean? So it was really cool to hear from him and his experience, and hearing from a band member of Mouse Rat / Rat Mouse / all the other names.
Scarecrow Boat. I have a t-shirt with all of them on it.
I know. I love that t-shirt.
It's great.
It's so fun. But yeah, we really get into it, I feel, in a short amount of time. I felt like we got a lot of things covered and by short, I just mean like it wasn't 2 hours. Right. But yeah, so before, I'll just let you guys listen to it. I won't tell you everything. But if you have questions, let us know. But we hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Burly, so much. And everyone, please be sure to follow him and all of the things that I will post in the show notes. And yeah, enjoy. This is Burly.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
Hi, how's it doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it so much.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Thanks for reaching out.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. Okay, wait. Also, do you go by Burly or Andrew, or what should we call you?
You're going deep with the very, very pointed questions right off the bat.
We like to get to therapy here.
Yeah, awesome. No, my nickname is Burly, and that was from college. But you can call me Andrew, or you call me Burly, whatever you want.
Okay. Do your friends, like everybody that knows you, call you Andrew or Burly or both?
They do. My friends from college call me Burly, and so you can tell how I know someone by what they call me.
Oh, interesting.
That person knew me in college, and so I'm Burly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Very specific group of people. Yeah.
Totally. Well, I'm Holly, by the way, and this is my co-host, Maddie.
Nice to meet you.
So good to meet you again. And speaking of college, which this might lead into my next question, because I was just watching commentary for Woman of the Year episode in season 2, and Mike Schur was on it, and he was saying that when you had your scene with Andy, which we'll talk about a little bit later, he was telling me, again, I am thinking that he's talking to me personally when I listen to these things, but he's not.
Right.
He was telling the audience that you guys went to college together.
We did.
That is so crazy. Which college was it? And explain.
Mike and I went to this little place called Harvard University in Boston.
I didn't know that. Wow, I should have known that. I'm so sorry.
It's such a strange question. I mean, people ask you where you went to school, and you're like, well, I went to school in Boston, and you try to be humble. Anyway, so we went to Harvard. We met our freshman year doing theater together. So we've known each other forever. Okay. And actually, Rashida was also a good buddy of ours. And so was Dan Gore, who's one of the key writers on Parks and Rec, who went on to co-create Brooklyn 99.
Totally.
So we were all in the theater scene together at Harvard. And then Mike and I were actually roommates in New York after college for a few years too, which was super fun. So we were good buddies. We go way back.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay. So then what we always ask our guests, like one of our first questions is how you got to be with Parks and Rec, and like if you auditioned and all that good stuff. And I know some people knew like some improv people from like their auditioning before they auditioned, but like how was your audition experience, or how did you get to be on the show?
Well, half the story is sort of what we just talked about. Okay. Mike and I went way back. And so I knew, we were always aware of what you're doing with your career. How's it going? I had just moved to LA. I'd been in LA a few years. And I'd been doing Blue Man Group in Chicago.
No way!
Awesome. I did that show for about 6 years. And so I finally moved on from that, and I decided to head out west. All my friends had moved from New York to LA. Mm-hmm. So I was in LA doing acting, and I was booking a lot of commercials. And also for a while, I was a singer-songwriter. So I was pursuing music as well.
Nice.
And Mike was coming up on shooting episode 6 of season 1, and it was his first time directing.
Rock show.
So, rock show, exactly. So they were introducing Scarecrow Boat, soon to be known as Mouse Rat. So Mike basically called me up and said, hey, I'm directing my first episode. Would you like to come hang out with me on the set? There's this band. If you'd like, you can be the drummer in the band. We'll just stick you in the background of a couple scenes. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I thought I was going to be basically an extra. But Mike knows I'm a serious actor and a musician. So he's like, great, you can come hang out. And, mm-hmm. He also knows I'm not weird around famous people. So, I met Amy way back in New York for a second. And, I actually met Nick Offerman at a wedding before Parks and Rec. So it's kind of a small town. So, but anyway, so I was on, we had to rehearse before going to shoot. We actually had to get together as a band and learn, I think, a couple of songs. I don't remember which song we played. You probably know.
I know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think there was a Dave Matthews Band song, I feel.
We played you know what it is? We played The Pit.
Oh, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And,
so we had to learn.
And Chris Pratt played his song Anne, which I don't think anyone was in.
Yeah. So we had to. Yeah. So we had to rehearse together, and at the rehearsal, to backtrack, I didn't have to audition. It wasn't really a character that was going to carry on. I thought it was just going to be like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
So we get to rehearsal for Scarecrow Boat, and Mark Rivers, who wrote the songs, he plays guitar and drums. I also play drums, guitar, and bass. And so I was going to be the drummer, and he said, I'm not really that excited to be playing guitar in front of a camera. Do you mind if we swap? So we swapped instruments. So I went from being the drummer to being the guitarist at the first rehearsal. So I became the guitarist. And then
on to be a co-lead singer.
Yeah. Eventually, little did I know. But yeah, so that was that. And we went and shot this thing, and it was a really fun day on the set. It was very much like gig. We played live, and Mike wanted to shoot it like a music video, and we were just having fun. And I think, I didn't know, they never knew if they were getting picked up or not for another season. And so they had that sense of like, let's just leave it all on the field, so to speak. Like just have fun and see what happens. And then they just kept bringing me back, which was super funny. And then they called me Burly, which was also very funny. Totally. My character. And so, yeah, it was like, a who do you know kind of situation. But like I said, it's kind of a small town. And so everybody was in that scene of, like you said, improv, but also just sort of comedy. Mm-hmm. And then for me, it was also music. And so, we kept coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you find out that you were going to be coming back? Because I think not Woman of the Year, but there's another one, Galentine's Day, when you come back and you guys are playing at the Senior Center. Did you kind of know that you were going to have some lines / be doing more stuff there?
No, I had no idea. It's such an interesting gig for me because it didn't go through my agent. And so the casting people would actually call me directly, which is very weird for an actor. You never have that. So they would call me and tell me, and here's what's going on, and you're coming back, and I don't know what they're doing. And then they'd send me the scenes or whatever. And then there'd always be a new song too, which was so fun. So every time I went back, we had to go to rehearsal first at this music studio in the Valley and rehearse the songs, actually learn the songs to play live. And so, I had no idea that they were going to add me to the story. And it was so much fun because I'd get to show up, once or twice a season for every really fun event.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's so refreshing to hear, because that was going to be one of my questions. Like, if you guys learned the actual songs, were you actually playing? Because I knew that you were a musician kind of before, but I didn't know if you were actually playing on camera. So that's so cool that you guys got to actually be a real band.
Yeah.
We did. And actually, we got to play at the first few rap parties at the end of the season for, I think, the first 3 seasons at least. We played live at the rap party, which was super fun. I think there's one of them is on it's one of the bonus features on one of the DVDs way back in the day, is us playing live.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'll have to watch that, because I have, I've been ordering the DVDs because of the commentary and deleted scenes and stuff. And one of the bonus features of season 1 was that music video shot, or music video like shooting. 'Cause they didn't really air the music video type of angles and stuff, and like fade outs and transitions and all that stuff. But they put it in the bonus features, and I think you could find it on YouTube. So if anyone is interested in looking at that, or if you yourself want to go take a trip down memory lane, it's definitely online somewhere.
It's a deep dive. It's a good little archive thing to find, archival bit of Mouse Rat history.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do here. And then when did you find out that you were called Burly? Or like, was that just kind of a given? Or was there anything official that was like, okay, you're going to be Burly now, No,
it was really fun. I mean, it was so fun. Mike has a great, obviously he's got such an awesome sense of humor, obviously, but he also has such a great sense of friendship and community. And he was just sort of giggling one day, and he's like, I think we're going to call your character Burly, if that's cool with you. So yeah, sure. I think he just decided to do it on set. It was very sweet, actually. The first time that I ever visited the set and saw Pawnee and saw the parks department, he's like, come here, I want to show you something. And we went into the hallway, and they have these big murals that are the history of Pawnee.
Yeah.
And a couple of them, it said painted by Andrew Burlinson, which was very, very sweet. And I was like, oh my God, it's such a nice little thing. And he named a couple after friends' kids and stuff like that. I thought that was very, very sweet. So that's the reality of making. Yeah, that's the reality of making a show, is that it becomes, it's a family, and it becomes, especially that show, is a group of people that loved each other. And so that's these little touches that made people feel very, very loved and very part of the whole bigger the bigger story.
That's what they're finding in Office Ladies as well. Like when they're talking about The Office, like they have so many different awards and stuff around The Office, and like crew members and family members' names are in there. And I know like JJ Diner is because of Mike's wife, JJ. And so that is like so cool to me to just like live on in that show, especially that show of all shows, of course.
I should actually try. I haven't listened to Office Ladies yet, but before I moved to LA, Mike was writing on The Office.
Yeah.
And I visited the set and got to see them working and check out what he was up to. And it was the day after Steve Carell had won a Golden Globe. And so they were all so excited about his win, and it sort of helped them know that they were going to be coming back. I mean, he basically, that sort of solidified the future of the show, and everyone was so thankful. And they had a big banner up. Thank you, Steve.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a very similar vibe from what I understand. Like the person who's number one on the call sheet is such a great person. And for them, it was Steve, and for us, it was Amy. And they set that tone on this set.
Yeah.
Someone is super, super hardworking, but also like very, very generous and loving with the crew. And this, no one else has an excuse to be a jerk if number one on the call sheet is like the best person.
Yeah, we've heard that from so many people, from both crew and cast. Like the number one person on the call sheet was such a leader and such a binder of people. So that's awesome. And then so speaking of not Galentine's Day, Woman of the Year, which will be our next kind of a review show. That was the first time that you had like a straight up interaction with Chris Pratt, like not singing. Because this is when you're like, bro, you gotta like be a good roommate and clean up after yourself and all these things. And,
you're right. The bag of smells. Yeah.
It was fun experiment, but it's not great anymore. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your interaction / memory of working with Chris Pratt and how that kind of all gelled together for you.
Chris has such a great energy. You're talking about somebody that everybody on set loves being around. He's not the kind of guy that has a bad day on set or is any kind of diva whatsoever. He's very grateful and so playful. And he goes into it with a sense of like childlike play. I mean, let's just go in and have fun with the scene. And so I believe that day we were kind of first up. So it was early in the morning. Chris had the vibe that he'd kind of just rolled out of bed, which may have been the truth. I don't know if he did or not. But that kind of, for me, established this interaction where I think Burly became, it's weird to talk about myself in the third person, but I know. I became this foil for him in terms of just having to be the straight man while Chris Pratt was playing around. And so, it gives me a sense of like, just don't laugh. And it makes Burly seem a little bit kind of stern, but he was just so naturally funny. And I had a really hard time not breaking up while we were doing the scenes because he really commits to it. So that kind of kept going. And then I think from that kernel of that scene, they kind of developed the thing that Andy's always asking Burly to tune his guitar. Andy's always yelling at Burly to get things right, even though Burly has it right and Andy doesn't have it right. But Mike gave me a note early on, like, make sure that you always love Andy, that Burly always loves Andy, no matter what ludicrous thing Andy is doing. He's still my buddy and my roommate, and and it's not hard to play that at all with Chris Pratt. You love Chris Pratt. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you can totally see that in that first scene when you say, it's like he makes fun of it in the end, but you're being serious when you're like, I love you, man, but shape up or move out,
Yeah. It's a very real thing. I think anyone that's been in a band kind of actually has that moment at some point where it's like, you know each other so well, you become almost like family. And you love each other, but you do things that really get under each other's skin. It's actually a really true dynamic.
Absolutely. Well, and when you're spending so much time together, like playing shows and you're living together, I mean, that's a lot, I feel. And it is very real.
We're just like the Beatles, and get that. We're just like that. Yeah.
I know that. I love that line when you become the co-leader or co-lead singer or whatever the hell. And he's like, name one other band that's had 2 lead singers. And Adam Scott's like, the Beatles.
Yeah. And Mike Schur and I are both gigantic Beatles fans. And so that was a pretty fun, that's like a funny little Easter egg for Mike, I think.
Totally. Have you watched that new documentary that just came out? I haven't watched it yet.
I watched every single second of it. Okay. I loved it. My wife fell asleep every 30 minutes, but she claims to have loved it too. I thought it was astonishing. I was here for all of it. It was like digging up like an archaeological dig. But oh my God, it is sort of for fans, but it does give you that sense of like, it's a lot more nuanced than somebody just, someone's girlfriend is sitting on the amp. And so therefore we're going to break up.
Right. Right. Yeah. Who was the one that directed that / like was at the helm? Do you remember?
Well, the new one is Peter Jackson. He took all the old footage. Yeah. He took all the footage and cleaned it up.
Yeah, Mark Maron interviewed him when it came out, and that's like how I kind of found out about the whole thing. And one of the things that Mark said and that Peter Jackson was talking about was that he really wanted to make it seem like you were kind of like in the back of the room hanging out with them kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like you're not more like Above Us Only Sky, that one is like, I think that one's a little bit more like I'm the audience, you're the Beatles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Peter Jackson wanted this one to be like, I'm just hanging out with the Beatles kind of.
I feel like someday for sure they're going to have a virtual reality version of it where we're just like sitting with the Beatles. I'm sure that'll happen.
Oh, I'm surprised there's not like a theme park or something.
Yeah. Get on it. Let's make it happen.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay.
That'd be awesome. Like a ride for every song or something.
Oh, totally. Okay, well, speaking of that, I guess my other question was going to be about the Unity concert, which was like your literal Mouse Rat being the Beatles moment, and how that was being in front of such a huge crowd. Like, what an amazing time for you guys.
Oh my God, that was absolutely incredible. I mean, I've been acting now for how many years? Over 20 years, and you step onto a set and you have all different kinds of experiences, and that was definitely in my top 5 experiences as an actor that I'll ever have.
Insane.
It was absolutely incredible, and we all had such a blast. And there was 300 extras or something like that were really there. I know they were paid to be there, but they seemed to like it a lot.
Of course.
We actually we played for real. I mean, we actually played with all those people. I think that's what added a level of surreality to it, which is like, I shared a microphone with Jeff Tweedy, which was one of the craziest things. I mean, I never expected to do that. And at that point in my life, I had actually kind of stepped away from music and thinking that my time as a singer-songwriter was pretty much not going to happen, where I was just sort of, I was making a career happen as an actor. So I just don't, my energy's going that way instead. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's the moment where I share a microphone with Jeff Tweedy. You're like, wow, you never know what's going to happen, So we had such a good time. It was so much fun. And it was such a huge undertaking. They had a drone shot, which at the time was pretty, I think that was that episode, but that was a novelty at the time, and now it's everywhere. But
yeah,
and we knew there was going to be. It was huge, and having all those people on stage at the same time, actually playing the song, was like just such a dream come true. I feel like every actor always dreams about being a rock star, and every rock star kind of dreams about being an actor. The funny thing about Jeff Tweedy's a lovely guy, and we were on stage, and I was sort of showing him about marks when as an actor they put down pieces of tape for you to and he was sort of helping me out with the knobs on my guitar, so we were like trading craft a little bit. It was pretty fun.
So exciting. Oh my God. Yeah. That is insane. Well, and so like, did you know / were a fan of the other people at all? Like Letters to Cleo or
I mean, Genuine. I mean, that was incredible. Genuine was up there. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Holy shit. Like this is big time. And I just thought, yeah, absolutely was in awe of the fact that we were up there.
I love that they gave everybody lines too. Like they all had their own little story, not just in Unity concert, but just like within the show, as far as like being Donna's cousin and then
I feel like that could have had a whole that could have had a whole spin-off show. I mean,
oh my God.
But that's the genius of the show and the genius of Mike, is that the details of world building are important. And if you're going to have people there, they should have some kind of backstory, and you should try to weave them in as much as possible to the story that we already know and love, just to make it all part of this fabric that brings out more of the weirdness. I mean, all the details are what makes things important or makes things interesting. And so the more weird little details, the more people, I think it also lends itself to a great, like you're doing right now, like the rewatching factors. You rewatch and you find more details and more things that sort of tie weird stories together over time, or motifs that keep carrying through. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm watching Parks for our podcast, but also when I'm watching The Office and listening to Office Ladies and stuff, I'm like, did they know that we were going to somehow go back and rewatch all of these and like triple check them? Because there's not many mistakes or not many like loose ends, I feel, especially with Parks. It's like, I don't know, like there's a couple of things where they'll mention things like offhandedly, and then it'll come back in like season 9. And maybe that's a writer's trick of like, what have we not pulled out yet? You know what I mean? Or fleshed out yet. But it's really brilliant, and especially with Peacock being like cheap and like affordable for everyone to watch. It's amazing.
It was wild because when Parks left Netflix, it was like, oh, but then you realize that it was part of the backbone of the new Peacock platform, and I think it's growing again in terms of people getting back to the show. But to get back to your point about all the details and loose ends that they don't let drop, is that there were a number of incredibly talented writers in that room that have since gone on to do unbelievable things. It was like an incubator of Hollywood comedy.
Insane.
And so you have a lot of people there that are really firing on all their thrusters are firing, and they're just like doing their best stuff. And clearly having a really good time with each other. And I went into the writer's room a couple of times just to say hello, and you see like this wall full of Post-it notes of story ideas that may or may not happen. Yeah. And I mean, that show, I feel like it could have gone on forever. I mean, you could live a million hours in that world, but obviously, it would get diluted. But those people were always just like never at a loss for brilliant ideas.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad that they brought you back as well, and that Mike was a part of that too, because that's something that we talk about very frequently, that's one of the things that I think Parks does a little bit more, because it is so centered around the town that so many people come back that we've seen before, like townspeople and counselors and band members and all that stuff. But for band, like as far as the band goes, do you feel like you and the other band members were kind of like building that camaraderie that you would in a band, like normally, since you had to practice together and be there when no one else was there and stuff? Like, do you feel like that was kind of a bond that can't be broken now?
Yeah. I mean, I think to some degree, yes. I wish that we had actually gotten to play out in the real world at some point. There were, I think, some offers on the table for us to play on a couple of late night shows that never happened.
Which I would have died.
I know, that would have been so much fun. I'm pretty sure that was on the table. And I think there was also an idea at one point to do like a web series with Mouse Rat or something like that. But we did, I mean, those little rehearsals were unique. You don't usually have to do that as an actor, go in, off the clock or whatever, and go do your own separate thing. But and also, they reissued, or they issued for the first time, the album of Mouse Rat Music this year. So that kind of got us all back in contact with each other, which was pretty funny. None of us knew about it, which was really funny. It's like, what is this guy? What's going on?
It's like NBC's little thing now.
I had people texting like, congratulations. I'm like, I don't make a dime off of this, but thank you very much.
Thanks, but no thanks.
I actually signed a couple of them for like friends' kids or whatever, but it was again, like you said, it's a fun revisiting of memory lane, going back and remembering, learning all those songs, and they're all like sort of in the key of G, so you forget which one you're playing, and you don't know what exactly we're doing.
Do you have a favorite song? Or a top three?
My favorite tune was Sex Hair. I thought that always gets caught in my head. I love that song.
It's a catchy MFer.
It's so good.
It is. It's just so
It's not
fun.
a good one to sing in public.
I know.
It gets stuck in your head.
You can't sing it to your kids.
Sex
and that
bears is what you can say.
Yeah.
Bears. Yeah.
Sex bears or hex squares. The one I was catch, or is it Catch Your Dream or Catch Your Dream?
Oh yeah,
Catch
Your Dream.
Your dreams.
Because that episode was so fun. That was also that's
good.
a close second in terms of that's a close runner up to my most favorite episode to shoot because everybody was in the studio together.
Yeah,
the whole cast. It was so much fun actually singing. It was hilarious. It was a really
Burly,
funny
don't
couple of
play
days.
it perfect every time. I mean, play it perfectly.
That episode
I
actually.
have to say that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that had to be so great trying to listen to Rob Lowe sing so out of key to Take Me Out to the Ball Game and also mess up all the words. Like that's a part I can never get through without cracking up.
I think that, I mean, the sheer number of bloopers was pretty epic in those 2 days. It was pretty great.
Oh my God.
And I think and Chris asked me for like, what's the best, worst karaoke song that you could sing? But there was a lot of like idle chat about like music and things like this. And I came up with Highway to the Danger Zone. I think that would be the worst. Like just really aggressively sing it with like a big empty beer in your hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't even
really
imagine.
good time.
Where was that studio? Do you remember? Or was that a set?
It was a studio. It was a real recording studio, which also was really fun. Exactly like the Beatles in a real recording studio. And we were there for a couple of days and it had that vibe of like just people hanging out and making music and then laughing a lot. And it felt very much like, I know you had Ted Shauna on and it felt very much like a documentary film crew was there. Mm-hmm. You know, that was very fun.
So you basically already had your Beatles documentary. It's not even a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. We fought, we broke up, we sued each other.
Yes.
And we got back together.
Rivers went back to rabbinical school.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Mark Rivers is like, I am so obsessed with him just because of, well, maybe obsessed is the wrong word. I'm just so like inspired by him because I love comedy songs and I'm sure that, I don't know if that was like his goal for life or whatever, but like, I mean, Mouse Rat just would not be the same without him.
Not at all. He's super, super talented. He has a mastery of music. And so pop music catalog, he's like, oh, you want it to sound like this? Okay, let's do that. Let's go with the Dave Matthews thing, the Hootie and the Blowfish mixed with Dave Matthews sound. Yeah.
Were
so
you
it's like, oh, I know all this.
Before at all?
Kind of. I had a girlfriend whose favorite guy was Dave Matthews, and he wasn't my favorite, but I grew to understand that he's like a super, super talented musician. And so that's a huge moment in life when you grow up and instead of saying that band sucks, instead you say, well, I don't prefer that band, even though they're great and they're clearly very talented. They're very talented musicians, but it's not my cup of tea. No, I actually have a real respect for Dave Matthews. I mean, he's an incredible musician and everyone who plays with him is amazing. Yeah. And he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, and Andy's like impersonation of him is always entertaining, I feel.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. But so have you are you still doing like songwriting? I know that you said that during the filming and everything it wasn't really a thing, but I mean, are you
I took a huge break. I'm kind of noodling with it again lately. Yeah. Weirdly, I have a daughter, a 6-year-old daughter who's super in love with Taylor Swift and she's really into music and she fancies herself a songwriter because she's seen some of Daddy's old things and so she writes her own songs and I was kind of really impressed with the way that Taylor Swift re-recorded her old material. Yes. I think she's a genius personally.
Me too.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I mean, I appreciate a perfect pop song. I think that's an incredibly difficult thing to do. Talk about Mark Rivers, his talent for making a melody that stays in your head for years. That is not easy to do. People think they make it look easy. But again, Mike Schur has a real love for perfect pop music. So do I. So yeah, I think that's an art form that is so underappreciated in terms of it looks super easy, but it's actually incredibly hard for people who don't do it. It's like magic.
Yeah. Does she play stuff, your daughter? Or like play like the guitar or something?
Not yet. She's a singer. She had her first recital last year, but she was really, really into it. And I'm writing as well now, writing screenplays and other things. So I'm keeping my hands full. But I'm working on this thing right now that I have an idea for a feature film that would be a musical. It involves a songwriter, and my daughter's like, "You're going to put me in it. I'm in it now." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you can be in it."
Okay, great. Well, if you need background, me and Maddie are here for you. We are also musicians. I don't think I said that. I saw that. So yeah, so we're here, homie.
You have like the whole.
And we went to college in Boston too.
You did. Where'd you go?
Berkeley.
We went to Berkeley.
I went to Berkeley School of Music. You guys are musical geniuses. I'm talking like, come on.
No, see, this is the funny thing. That's how I feel. How you described Harvard is how I feel about like saying Berkeley. I'm always like, I went to school in Boston. Like I did go for music, but it's not even a big deal.
Berkeley's like a mind blow. Anyone who knows that is like, oh, then you're good to go. Let's come and play in my orchestra or do whatever. Like people are like, you're fine. You're hired. Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
Where are you? What's you're a vocalist, right, Holly?
Yeah, I do vocals and I do songwriting as well. And I'm in Nashville right now. And that's the primary reason why I moved from LA to here to do music, but also to, I can't afford LA at this point in time.
Sure. I hear you.
But yeah, I also, there's plenty of acting and stuff here as well as Atlanta. So I still have a Southeast agent that is, booking me for things, which is really nice. But
that's great.
Yeah. And then Maddie's in Prescott, which is like, north of Phoenix,
Arizona.
Oh, okay, great. And you know each other from school.
And violinist.
I see that. What's the poster in the back? I'm on my phone here, so I can't see the poster in the background.
Oh yeah, it's a guitar poster. My brother got it for me when I moved to Boston.
Awesome.
So I still have it, but it's a guitar with many musical things written on it.
Wonderful. I'm glad, by the way, that I'm not in Boston right now. Looking at their weather.
Oh my God, I saw that. Yeah. The snowstorm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is the truth. We went to a Bruins game on Friday night. The Boston Bruins came here to play the Coyotes. And they were like, does anybody want to guess how cold it is in Boston tonight? And they were like, it's 10 degrees. It's supposed to be 10 degrees tomorrow. So you better be lucky you're here and not there. So
God, in LA, it's like 50 degrees. I'm freezing. Are you kidding?
I know. Yeah, I don't bundled up in sweaters.
I did Blue Man in Boston for a few months when I first got hired, which was really fun.
Blue Man Group. Were you a Blue Man?
I was a Blue Man. Yeah. What? I was hired as a Blue Man. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is so cool to me.
Thank you. It was cool to me too. I thought it was really fun. It was my first professional acting gig. I was a drummer primarily, but I also, like I said, I played guitar and bass, but drumming was my first instrument. And I'm an actor. I was a trained actor, especially in improv and clown and commedia dell'arte. So I did like an open call. I mean, I went through Backstage Magazine. I got cast to Blue Man Group. I sat in my apartment, the one that I share with Mike and some other roommates. And I would send out 10 to 15 headshots every week through Backstage Magazine, through the actual newspaper version of Backstage Magazine in 1999. And in 2000, I got hired. I auditioned and got hired.
What is the audition like for that?
It's pretty great. I actually helped to run auditions once I sort of retired from Blue Man. I moved to LA, and they had me doing some gigs and some auditions, and it's really fun. You start off, first of all, they have to see your drumming chops to see if you're. And honestly, I think the drumming kept getting more and more phenomenal as we watched the company grow. And so once you get past the drumming audition, they have you come in and tell, and that you do this exercise that is. You have to tell a story just with your eyes. You can't move your body. You can't move your head. You can't talk at all. You just have to express it with your eyes. And so they're looking for that kind of, that little umami.
Yes, that makes so much sense when you see the Blue Man Group.
Yeah. We've all got big sparkly eyes, So.
They really are telling a story.
Yeah. And then after that, the process goes on and they put you in a bald cap to see if you look physically like someone who could fit the role and not look too different.
That was a question of mine.
Yeah.
If you were actually bald or if you guys just wear caps or whatever.
You wear a cap that you glue down with this just industrial strength glue. And then you just slather yourself with blue grease paint that gets everywhere. If you ever saw Arrested Development.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Kinda,
You blew yourself.
It gets all over There's like fingerprints on the wall. I used to find things on my clothes for years.
Oh
like,
my! How
God.
did you take it off? Was it just a makeup remover wipe thing?
Yeah, well, it's just like this stuff, the solution that, ironically, my skin was the cleanest I think it had ever been, because you're getting like a professional facial every day.
Oh,
you're like, cleaning
God.
yourself out. But it was a great gig. I mean, like I said, it was my first gig as an actor that, I got paid. I had a 401k plan and health insurance, and it was pretty mind boggling. And I did the show, and you train in New York and you do a few weeks or a few months of shows there. And then they put you wherever they need you. And they put me in Boston for a few months. And then I went to Chicago for 6 years.
Wow.
And you do really, if you're lucky, you get to do some really random gigs. Like I did a couple of halftime shows.
Oh, cool.
For arenas, which kind of warmed me up for the Unity concert. So I played at a Detroit Pistons halftime show. And I think I played at I played for a Bulls halftime show. Not really sure. And then I went just randomly other places. Like I performed a couple weeks in Brazil to do some press for them, which was really incredibly cool. And that was actually after I had already left. They called to see if I was available to go down. And it was cool. I appeared on late night shows, and you're in this other country that I played this Blue Man gig on a show, and afterwards someone said, like, congratulations, 80 million people just watched that. You're like, oh, that's cool. Great.
Wild.
And,
not nerve-wracking at all.
and at the time I had a commercial here running in the States that was running during the World Series. And so it's like, I think maybe 150 million people saw me this week on television.
That's
in one form or another. Yeah.
Well, and with Blue Man, you would never get recognized, I feel. So that's like a whole other game.
It's true. There's a group of really hardcore fans that are that have this beautiful community. They keep up with each other, and they're very active on Facebook, and they've been going for like 20 years now.
Wow.
And they actually do come to so many shows that they start to recognize you out of the makeup, and they know your name. And
that's crazy.
It's very weird. Yeah, it's very flattering, and it's lovely. But that was my first experience of understanding that, when you're a professional actor, you're performing a service for people. They paid good money to come and check you out, and they've sacrificed a lot potentially to get there. And we would meet and greet the audience after every show, and you understand that exchange and that responsibility, So when you do a lot of TV or film, you can lose touch with that aspect of it. You can become like, oh yeah, we're doing this for fans. And you have to remember that. And that actually to me is the most important thing.
Yeah.
The fans always come first. I mean, you're an entertainer first. We're not, performance artists.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. There is obviously a huge amount of expression and self-expression, but when you work in commercial art, which we all, do at some point, if you're doing this in the United States, at least, you have a part in that exchange with the audience, and they've, they're your boss, really.
Yeah. Well, I definitely have gotten that vibe from both The Office and Parks. Like if I'm ever listening to like an interview or a commentary or anything about that, like, in fact, I know I'm mentioning Office Ladies a lot. I promise they're not paying me. I'm just so obsessed with them. But they talked about, I think it was Mike Schur actually, who they just had an interview with, and they were talking about when Pam and Jim's proposal was happening, like at the gas station, and they were deciding whether or not to have audio for that. Like, can you hear them saying like, will you marry me? And yes, and all that stuff. And I think it was either Mike or Greg Daniels. I think it might have been Greg Daniels that made the final call of like, we were going to do it, no audio, but like these fans have waited for so long to see this interaction and this exchange and this like brilliant moment in time. So like we have to give that to them. And it's like, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for their love of this couple. So like we have to give them that as a gift, That's
really great. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's like you said, it's a world that people want to go live in, and it helps people a lot.
Yeah, totally.
You've obviously seen that in the last couple of years, especially. There's a sense that, when things are pretty dire, like let's go to Pawnee for the night. Yeah. And people, I really do think that's part of the reason why the show endures, is that it's such a great place to visit. And it's such a great place to just sort of get away from whatever you're going through in your life.
I love that. And you also had a
you do therapy on this show though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Every time I feel like we talk to a guest, we somehow, some way, shape, or form get into some type of like deep conversation. Like what with John Balma, who played Barney, the accountant. I never would have thought that we would like get into a bit of a deep moment. But then he was talking about how he like shifted his career and all these things. He was like, "Oh gosh, we're getting to the therapy part of it," and I was like, "That's what we live for, baby."
Oh, he's awesome. He's so hilarious. I mean, he's so talented. Oh my God. But that's exactly what you want. It's like, why do we talk to each other? Connect. Let's go. Let's get deep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and where was the Unity concert filmed? I meant to ask that too.
Oh, okay. I don't. It was out in a huge public park in, I want to say Tarzana, but I'm probably wrong.
Because I know Sean was saying that the Harvest Festival was filmed on a college campus. So I wasn't sure, right? Like an outdoor part of that. So I didn't know because it looked kind of similar, I feel. It could have been. Yeah,
it was I remember that day. I remember like lying down in the field at one point. It's like on a break. It's like very much like we're at Coachella, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then you also had a hand in Burt Macklin's episode, which I thought was so fun. And I wanted to ask you like what that was like and how it was being on like a set within a set, if you will.
Well, it was hilarious. And all the puppies and all the kids. I think there were some kids of writers and kids of crew members were there. And so that was pretty sweet.
Oh, that's so cool.
And Amy was directing that episode, which was really wonderful. Right. And watching her, I mean, every time I came back, look, I was a big fan of the show. And so it was, like I said, it's surreal every time coming back as a fan, sort of plugging into wherever they were at in the season, but also watching each of those actors, their careers were growing as it was going on. And, you know, with Pratt, especially every time I went back, there was something huge new development in his career. Like he did Moneyball, he did Zero Dark 30. It's like, oh, I just did this movie where I play a SEAL guy. I'm like, wow, you look really ripped. Like, he's like, yeah. And then it becomes this big thing. And with Amy, it was watching her become, you know, she was always number one on the cast sheet, of course, but you know, she became the boss of this show and took on more of a producer role with other projects as well. So watching Amy I think she was undergoing this transformation of like, she's now this mentor to all these young writers and all these young actors. And I mean, I can't speak for her obviously, but watching that is incredible. And so she's such an amazing, hilarious person and a good person. So it was like a natural to me and very natural next step for her. And I was very much like, hey boss, you know, what do you need me to do? And she's super, super cool. So that was a very fun day on set. I think I was just there for 1 or 2 days. And another kind of cool, interesting thing was that I think Pratt was in the middle of doing reshoots for Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe I don't know which one, but so he had a fake beard on. It was like a glued on beard for Andy.
I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was fake at that point. So that was kind of a new, so he couldn't like smile too much in between takes or else it was going to like crack and come off.
Oh
but yeah, so that was a pretty funny thing. So yeah,
did you get to see John Cena?
I did not. But yeah, no, I loved playing puppy hating Dan. I think I tried to steal my t-shirt and they caught me.
Oh man.
Oh, no.
Because they'd given me every other t-shirt. They'd given me the one for Leslie Knope's campaign. And I'm like, but I always get the swag. Why? Oh, well, here's the, oops, I accidentally put it in my bag. Sorry. I'm not sure. Maybe I did keep it. I'm not really sure.
I hope that you did.
Yeah. And the puppies were super, super cute.
Did you do a bunch of runs with that?
Yeah. I mean,
like a bunch of takes?
I was like, how serious do you want me to go? And Amy's like, be really like, just go for it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Let's just be a super mean dickhead villain on a kid's show.
Yeah. That is hilarious.
Big energy. Don't hold back. Do that clown thing that you've been waiting to do for so long.
Yeah. I also really like, this is probably one of my most favorite lines in like the whole series that you have. And it's so stupid, but it's just so hilarious. I think it's actually, is it during Unity concert? Yeah, I think it is when you're coming up with your kid because Andy at that point has had, you know, he's like a kid's performer or whatever. And you're talking about, or no, wait, maybe it's not a Unity concert. Whatever. I'll just tell you the line. It's the it's the nacho chef one, and you're like, why don't you melt the cheese?
Why don't you melt the cheese?
This is when he gets kicked out of his own band, and they're called Rat Mouse or whatever, and then that's the lead singer Beatles moment. I don't know why I thought it was a Unity concert.
And we do Rat Mouse, and then he sings the betrayal song that he sings. The swan song. Good Lord. That was impossible to keep a straight face. Like, impossible. Because he was like moaning, and he was like moaning and like having eye contact with me. He's like, like just looking right into my eyes. It's so hard.
Oh my God.
And actually, Alan Yang directed that episode. So that was really cool. Yeah.
Do you still keep in touch with those guys?
Yeah, every now and then you'll get an email or something like that. And there was this great reunion not too long ago for the 10th anniversary of the start. It was so fun. From
the virtual episode though, right?
That was. They did a thing at the Paley Center, and then we had an in-person party. But I mean, again, like watching Alan's gone on to do Master of None and all the stuff he's, I mean, it's incredible. And it's funny because he's in the scenes with you directing it, and you're like, he's like, cut, how was that? That was fine. That's great. Let's go on,
Does he play bass for real?
He does, yeah, for real. He plays, he's great. So we all really play. That's part of the reason that we were called into service to be in Mouserat, I think, is we actually played.
Yeah.
And Chris was pretty diligent about practicing, and he got great. He became a really good guitarist.
Yeah.
At first he would have to glance back and see what the chord was. He'd look at but he got really good at it. Yeah.
I like his voice a lot, actually. Like when he's actually singing, I would listen to him for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's no joke. I really think we should have played out live, like on Fallon or something like that. He has a Marcus Mumford thing going on, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
That like baritone powerhouse. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, now that you're saying that you want to play out live, my wheels are turning. I'm like, maybe we'll come up with some sort of benefit concert, like almost kind of like the Unity concert, and I'll invite a bunch of Nashville artists as well.
Oh, and
then Duke Silver can come and join us.
Oh my God. He can really play too. That was like so much fun. He's so hilarious.
Oh my God.
When Offerman, oh my God, I love Nick Offerman.
Everyone does. I can't wait to one day meet him. It's happening. We're manifesting it.
Did you see Devs? Did you see his show Devs?
No.
He did this hardcore science fiction show by the writer and director of Ex Machina.
Okay.
Called Devs, and it was really good. And he gave this unbelievably beautiful dramatic performance. He's just like a fantastic actor. I would check it out. DEVS. Yeah. It went under the radar, but it was so good. And so it was like this very cool, moody science fiction thing, if you're into that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll definitely check it out, and I'll post it in our show notes as per usual.
Yeah.
Do you have any like favorite memories or experiences that like stick out in your head? Obviously the Unity concert was one, but was there any like interactions or favorite scenes or anything like that anything random that you're thinking of right now?
Oh yeah. Well, the story that I mentioned when you first reached out to me is we were shooting the Galentine's Day episode.
Oh yeah.
And we were all like over by craft services getting a snack. And I think Aubrey was talking about somebody that she was dating, and we were talking about dating. And I had just actually started dating my wife, weirdly enough. And for anyone who's looking for weird trivia, my wife is Meredith Bishop, who played Annie Mac on The Secret World of Alex Mack back in the day on Nickelodeon.
When you told me that, oh my God, Andrew / Burly, I told my sister and like two other of my friends, especially my sister, I was all caps. Oh my God.
Oh, cool.
It was like, we definitely weren't Alex Max fans.
It's so funny. The funny thing is being out with Meredith at dinner. I mean, we've been together now for like over a decade, but every now and then someone in their 30s, a young lady will come up and be like, I'm sorry to bother you, but were you,
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
really, really sweet. But anyway, so during the shooting of Galentine's Day, Aubrey, Chris, and I were just talking about dating and sort of the awkward beginnings of things and how nerve-wracking it is or whatever. Mm-hmm. And Chris gave me, I think, the best dating advice I've ever received in my life, which was this. Okay. He just offhandedly goes, well, you should just really be yourself, because that's the easiest act to maintain.
Ooh. Okay.
I was like, that is a very zen dating advice. It's really true.
Yeah.
Let your freak flag fly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. From the very beginning, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's one little nugget. And what else? The shooting and the scene where I come up in the Unity concert episode, it was my nephew. He said, my nephew is a big Johnny Karate fan. They named my nephew in the episode Jack. I have a nephew named Jack, and Mike named him after my nephew, which was really sweet. Again, one of those little things you're like, this is just so sweet. All the little details that make everybody feel like they're very welcome. And there's another really cool, really crazy coincidence is that, I think you should have more crew members on because they really the people that are there every single day, and they know the whole ins and outs. They watch everything and they know everything, especially the people we call second team, who are the stand-ins who come in for the actors.
Okay.
The process of shooting TV when you do a scene, you come in, you rehearse the scene. So yeah, you rehearse the scene and you walk around and you do your blocking and you figure out where you're going to stand. And then the first team, the actors who are in the scene, go off and hang out wherever they're going to hang out, in their trailer or whatever. And the second team comes in, and they're actors, also usually actors who look who are vaguely the same size as that actor, and they have to stand there while the incredible technicians and crew members figure out all the lighting. And so that can be a pretty tedious process of standing there, but you get kind of close with your second team person because you're there together all the time. And I became really friendly with a guy named Brad and a woman named Donna, who are married to each other. And we were like just having a really good time on set. And we were like, Brad and Donna, they're so much fun. She's from Brooklyn. My mom's from Brooklyn. We're like just laughing all day. They've been married to each other for years. They've done Broadway. They were dancers. They were incredibly talented actors themselves and performers. And then like a couple of months later, Meredith and I just started dating. And we go to this kid's birthday party. This is exactly, I think, 12 years ago, because that kid just turned 13.
Wow.
We're at this birthday party, and Brad and Donna are there from Parks and Recreation. And they're like, Burly, what are you doing here? I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And it turns out that Brad and Meredith had done a play together. And we're like very close friends from this awesome play that they did. And Meredith had won this theater award here in LA for it. And so they had this incredibly great experience. And so Brad and Donna are two of our best family friends still. And they were the second team people for Parks and Rec through the whole thing.
That's amazing. Did you know, did Meredith know that Brad was your second team, like when you were on the show?
No, she didn't. I mean, I don't think I never mentioned it. It's like one of those crazy small town. I mean, LA is really surprisingly a small town when you when you get a little bit of work, you get some things going. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would love to talk to them, number one. And number two,
yes.
I wonder if they're on, is the second team on IMDb? Because I feel like that's how I got most of the like crew people. And by most, I just mean like everyone that I've messaged, and thank God Shauna messaged back.
That's so cool. It's a great question. If they're not, they really should be.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking.
They work really, really hard, and they're there the longest hours of any crew member besides the grips and the electrics. And like I did a kid show for Amazon for 4 years, and I had the best second team friend, my buddy Jimmy Bad. He's this big, great guy. He's a great guy, and we're still in touch with each other, and he has stood in for Bryan Cranston and all these really great actors. So he's gotten to witness some really cool things. And there are people that work with their second team person from project to project to project. And it's awesome. So, you've done theater as a kid in high school or college, or you do some, student film or whatever, and then you never have second team. So when you have a second team, it feels like such a luxury and such an incredible thing. It's like a pal that's watching out for you, and sort of, and you just have a buddy on set. So, they should be on IMDb. Okay. And I feel like
I'll look them up.
They know everything.
And if they're not, if they feel comfortable, I was going to say, if they're not on IMDb and if they are comfortable, then I might ask you to reach out.
For sure. I think they're so much more entertaining than I am, first of all. And secondly, No, I'm very boring compared to
No,
them.
this is perfect.
Oh,
We
good.
love it.
They and Brad. I don't think they're not doing second team work anymore. Brad has had this great new renaissance as a on camera actor. He's getting some work now, doing different projects, and so he's had some really cool stuff happen for him.
Yeah,
but it is such a journeyman.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's just such a journeyman job. I mean, the things that they've gone on to other great shows after Parks too. So. Pretty cool.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I would love to know how that all kind of works. I had a friend that was a stand-in, but I didn't really, I don't think I knew enough or knew like to ask kind of what the story was or like what their days are like and everything. So I'd love that. I mean, I said to Shauna when we were interviewing her, I mean, as much as I love all the actors and it like makes my heart flutter every time I meet like anyone, but it's just like insane to me to meet a crew member, especially a camera operator of all people, of all crew, because we literally would not be watching on our TVs or our laptops or whatever the hell we're watching it on without them. And I was just like,
that's true.
God, I'm so intimidated, but I'm like, obviously everyone on Parks has been so lovely and wonderful and welcoming and genuine. So it's made it
that's
very
easy. Cool. Well, when you get things going, and are you aiming to work in television and film as an actor and do all that?
That's the goal. I mean, right now it's kind of similar to you right now, where I was doing, like, for a couple years I was doing the music thing, and then acting kind of was like doing some cool stuff as well, like commercial work and things that are shooting here, and some really great, amazing auditions where I've been in front of like really amazing casting directors. So yeah, that's definitely the goal. And similar to you, where I would love to combine the music and the acting and into one thing.
Be great.
And also, I love podcasting. It's one of my most favorite things ever.
It's great. You're great at it. I mean, like, this is such an instantaneous thing. That's so much fun, because a lot of the process in television and film can feel like pretty slow compared to this. But when you get on set and you get some momentum going and some days in a row on a thing, you start to see the rhythm of the way that people work, and you start to see that you have your role, and you feel more like a crew member at times, and you understand that everything is so essential. Everybody is so part of the deal of making this happen. Like you said, we wouldn't see anything without a camera op, obviously. The actor is sort of like the field goal kicker, where it's like, you've got to do this high pressure thing and get it done relatively quickly so that we can all go home and everybody, and we can all be on, and under budget and whatever and what have you.
Yeah.
And so you start to do it for the crew. Like, you start to perform for the crew. You start to understand where you fit in and how you can help this thing move along.
Yeah.
And so, second team can actually see actors at their worst as well, because you see the actors that don't get that. And that some of the actors that are more like all about themselves, or all about, they don't give a shit about what's going on. And those are the people no one wants to really work with. Yeah. And so, we
always say that, crew and cast are kind of similar to, like, everybody should be a waiter or a server or something, so that like you as the customer can understand what everyone's going through, and like, it's not just your food that we're serving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I totally feel that. Well, were there any, like, I mean, I always stray away from saying the word favorite because I don't want anyone to feel like left out or whatever. But do you have any like top thoughts about any of the cast that you worked with, or directors? Because I know that you worked with a bunch of different directors because they switched on and off with TV. But just curious as to like, well, I know Mike gave you some direction as well, but I was just curious if any of the other directors like just let you go, or did you get to improv? Did any directors tell you like what to do?
No, honestly, on Parks, there was surprisingly little improv. You'd think, I think Mike's talked a bit about this at some events, where the writing staff was so strong and pretty brilliant that they had things ready to go, and they had alternate lines ready to go. And at the end of every scene, the director would allow for a fun run. Yeah. Where it's like, let's just do the scene as written, and then the actors can kind of go for it. But they hardly ever used any of that stuff. I mean, I think they only ever used maybe 2 improvised lines in the entire show. And one of them was Chris Pratt's very famous.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
My internet connectivity
Yeah, exactly. That's so famous. Yeah, and I think it's also, I will say the fun runs are typically more the, like the council members. We were talking about that in our last one.
Oh, yeah.
Because a couple, or not council members, sorry, council people, like townspeople. Because a lot of times they would have fun runs when they're at the mic and they'd be like, just like do some shit.
Yeah.
Some of that would be left in every now and again, which was nice.
Yeah, like, what's his name? The very famous nerdy one about all the Star Wars stuff. Patton Oswalt.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That was a whole other level.
Yeah. But the directors were great. I got to work. Adam Scott directed an episode that I was in, which is really great. He was very cool. I mean, directing for TV is very much about herding people along, and you have to be really quick. It has to be really efficient. You have to make your day, as they say. And so it's not a place where there's a ton of exploration of like the rhythm of a scene or something. You just don't have time for that. Yeah. And so it has to be pretty efficient. And so it's a more encouraging sort of like, and more, there's like no fat on it. Like we got to get right to it. If we rehearse for too long and then we're going to fall behind in the schedule and we don't really have time for that. And so they kept bringing back mostly by the time I think all was said and done, they had fewer and fewer new directors come in because everybody knew the rhythm of the cast is in their rhythm. Everybody's in their rhythm. And so you just sort of let that go. But as for cast members, I mean, everyone was just so warm and welcoming every time I came back. And, Retta and Aubrey, and I don't even know if I ever got to do much with anybody like that. But I mean, Nick Offerman too, just like talking and seeing each other and shooting the shit. It's just a very friendly, really, really warm group of people.
That's awesome.
And that reunion too is so, like I bumped into Aziz, I think out at coffee, getting a big hug. I bumped into Aubrey at a restaurant, you get a big hug. Like it's just super sweet, and John Ralphio, he's such a lovely dude too. So,
we're trying so hard to get him. It's insane. He's so up there now, man. I mean, I can't. Especially with Women of the Year. Oh my God. A little bit of a preview sneak peek moment because to the audience really, but I was looking at the deleted scenes and there are so many deleted scenes and by deleted scenes, I just mean like they let him improv the fuck out of that.
Absolutely.
Because he's such a brilliant person, and brilliant improviser. But like he did so many different ways of the flush with cash thing, the flush with cash. He did so many different variations of that, and I was like, oh my God, my mind is blown right now because I'm so glad they selected the one they did. But he tried so many different ways to do that, so I was like, oh my God, and he has a new show out. We're so obsessed with him. It's fine.
He's the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah,
too,
dude.
No, he's great. I mean, that's the thing. Parks and The Office did the same thing where it's like, let's hire a bunch of people. We don't really know what the character even is yet. And then we're going to write it around that actor and let them go. I think that there was a lot of talk over the years about how insane the process of casting a comedy pilot really has been. It's like the writers are brilliant people, most of them, but then, they have such a strict idea of what the character has to be. But the reality is when you get a funny person, then you probably should just tailor it to that person and make that happen. And it almost seems like Mike tailored the show to Amy and Rashida to some degree, and then let everybody else sort of grow around it. And we'll now we have the rest of the characters. I think they hired Jim O'Hare and Retta and in the first season without even knowing what the characters were going to be. And that, like, we'll figure this out now. And I think that's a more organic and ultimately way funnier. And you get like the best out of your performers by letting them really go for it. I mean, a lot of the commercials I've done over the years, again, it's like a breakneck shooting pace, very, very quick day. You've got to get it done very, very fast. And a lot of the time for me, when the director goes, okay, we've got time for one more, Andrew, just do whatever you want on this take. And then that's the one they use, like, because you feel like these chains are kind of popping off of you. You're like, oh, now I can do my thing. And that is a really, that's a moment where the actor feels like empowered to be more of a collaborator.
Yeah. Did Mark Rivers ever give you any sort of like direction on how the song should sound, or were you guys just like playing and then he was like, do what you need to do? Like, were there charts? Like, how'd you learn the?
No.
Okay.
No, it was all by ear.
Okay, got it.
We're good, like G, C, D, C, G, you know.
How did you like learn? I guess it's a question for Mark, but I have a band member here, so I'm not going to like throw away my shot, as Hamilton says. But, but like, so, I mean, how did Chris Pratt like learn the song? Did Mark send him like a voice memo situation, or how'd that work?
I think so. I think that Rivers made little demos at home. He could play all the instruments and he sang it all. And then he'd send him that with, I think, just like a guitar tab.
Oh, okay.
Just like you know, and that's a pretty basic thing. And then I think Pratt would go in and do a scratch vocal and he'd rewrite some of the lyrics and do some of the comedy pass on that. So I'm pretty sure Pratt co-wrote a lot of the lyrics of the songs. And then Mike would, I'm sure, weigh in, or whoever, various writers would come in. But yeah, no, we never, and then we just get in there, they'd play it. They'd send us an MP3. Got it. And then we'd learn it at home and then go in and play it. And luckily it wasn't too complicated. Nothing that you had to go to Berkeley school.
That's so cool though. I love that. Yeah, I was always curious about like how he was like making up little riffs. And to your point, I was listening to another commentary. I think it was the one where he's in the first season where he's in his cast in the tub listening to his own song, or not the tub, the baby pool. Yeah. And I think on that song he's playing the And song, and he wrote that one because I think Mike Schur was just like, go write that.
Just go, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then I didn't realize the first time that he sang the one that you actually sing the lead on with him, the I Know You've Been Changing.
Is it Menace Ball?
Is that, yeah. But that's not a Dave Matthews Band song, is it? It's not.
No, it's a real song. It's our song.
It's a Mouse Rat song. That's what I'm saying. Like,
It sounds
I totally thought I heard a comment, or I heard a commentary that was like, again, I get all my information from them, but the commentary was like, I love how he's singing his own song, and I was like, that's not a Dave Matthews Band song.
We fooled you.
You totally did, especially the way he's like, Chan John.
I think that was like my last line on Parks and Rec is they made a special 3-minute like Mouse Rat retrospective.
Oh, really?
That's right.
It's somewhere on YouTube, and there's like candles and like a crimson background, and we're standing there, you know, reminiscing about Mouse Rat. And my line is like, well, nobody was doing what we were doing. Well, Dave Matthews was doing what we were doing. Yeah. And it's well, I know you've been there town. It's a very,
Oh my God. That's right. I totally forgot about that. How could I forget? Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's like your own little documentary.
The thing about shooting those days is that the songs would just get stuck in your head, like ruthlessly stuck in your head for days afterward. You'd be singing Menace Ball, and you kind of had a sense like, I think people are going to love this if we're all singing it and we don't hate it. Like we loved it.
Right. Well, and Rivers was so good about making like, at least, I mean, every lyric I heard was wonderful, but especially the choruses of like where he catches you, especially like Lil Sebastian. Like you just need that one line by Lil Sebastian, and you're like, I'm set for the whole day.
We knew we had. I mean, I think we all knew. Everyone's there, like waving their fake candles. We're like, this is actually great.
It's
like
good.
A really great song, and it really. I think the fans, in terms of like the sentimentality of Parks and Rec, and that's the song that tugs at your heart the most. Yeah.
And I'm really curious because another thing they mentioned was that, or that is said in the show, Andy says this, that two lines that he always puts is, one of them is spread your wings and fly. And I think now that I'm listening to it, he did.
Yeah. Spread your wings and fly. It's like hallelujah. It's like a hallelujah at the end of every song. Spiritual.
It's so brilliant. Good. I can't even handle it. That's so awesome. Well, and now so you said that you're songwriting or you're kind of like fiddling around with some things. Like what kind of music were you into or / like playing?
Well, I was always a huge Beatles fan, and I was in a band with guys that I grew up with. We played together from when I was 13 years old to when I was 25 years old. And then I got hired at Blue Man and quit my band.
That's insane.
But we were very Beatlesque. We were called Motherboard.
Ooh, okay.
And here's a weird piece of trivia that we were looking for a new name, and Mike Schur and Neil Brennan, the comedian Neil Brennan, were writing a feature film together. every day in our living room.
Yes.
And so Neil Brennan named our band. He said, "You should call yourselves Motherboard." We're like, "Yeah, done." So we called ourselves Motherboard.
Interesting. Wonder why he said that.
I don't know. It was like, 1999 or 98. And it's like, computery. And we weren't really a computer
situation.
We didn't sound, we weren't an electronica band at all. So I have no idea why we called ourselves Motherboard. But we were playing all this, we were playing all the places on the Lower East Side and in the Village and stuff. And it was a really, really fun scene in New York at the time for like rock and roll. And we were like rock and roll. We loved U2, we loved the Beatles, but we also loved like Oasis, it was Beatle-y, and Weezer, like that kind of stuff, Fountains of Wayne, those kind of bands. Actually, I got to work with some of the members of Fountains of Wayne.
Cool.
I was on a show called The Wedding Band on TBS where I got to play a guitarist also. And I had to learn some songs with Harold Perrineau and who else is in that band? Anyway, it's a great show. It only lasted one season, but it was funny. I'm like, I quit music and here I am playing guitarists on shows all the time.
Isn't that wild? The universe, man. Some tricky business.
Well, so what we're talking about, so music now, I mean, I'm sort of getting back into music, but it's always still acting for me. I mean, I just, we're actually in a commercial together right now that's running. My wife and I are in a Geico commercial right now with the Angry Birds.
Yes, the Angry Birds commercial. You guys, you have to go Google it if you haven't seen it already. It's so wild because when you told me that, I was like, I've seen that commercial though. And then I didn't recognize you. I don't know what it was wrong with me. I guess I just wasn't looking.
My hair is really short. I'm clean shaven. I look different. Yeah. It's all, my character acting is all in the hair.
It's so funny. How did you guys get to be in the same commercial together? Because you and your wife are in this one together.
Yeah, we've actually done at this point probably 5 or 6 spots together over the years. We used to audition together all the time. We booked most of them though before we were married, and then we got married, and I guess we lost all the juice. But all the auditions in the last 2 years have been remote, have been through Zoom or self-taping and sending them in. So we just did it in our living room. We did a Zoom audition for this great director, and it helps because a lot of the other couples were going in, were not in the same room. And so I think the rhythm of that is way off. And so the fact that we were together, the rhythm of it worked a lot.
Was it one of those things where the breakdowns were like, if you have a wife, then like bring her kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, everything's been that way for the last 2 years. It's been like, if you have a kid or a grandmother, everything is, can we all get you together? So, so that's been, so we sort of lucked out. We were actually going to play we were booked to play another couple for the backup couple. That now they book people just in case someone else gets COVID, then you step in. And we were booked as the backup couple for the one with Animal for the Muppet that's in one of the Geico spots.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one yet.
And that was really funny. And then they told us, actually, we're sliding you into this other spot. So
cool.
It worked out. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I told my mom because my mom still has cable. And Peacock, I have the commercial one, and Hulu and all that stuff. I always pay for the one with commercials because I actually like commercials. And I'm also this is stupid, but not stupid. But I also somehow feel a little bit in service because I'm giving commercial actors work kind of.
Yeah,
so dumb.
Exactly.
But anyways, no, I told my mom that because she watches it and she'll tell me about commercials. It's so funny. She tells me about TV shows, but she's like, oh my gosh, I just love this one commercial about this, and this. And Angry Birds was one of them. And I was
Yay, good.
I know that guy.
It's funny whenever I get a spot that is really, really, really visible, I'll always get some random text message from a friend from high school or something. It's pretty funny.
God. They come out of the woodwork, don't they?
Yeah. I've been doing this now. I've been doing commercials now for 16 years, and that's been my kind of my day job. So in between TV work and a little bit of film work and theater work, just doing commercials as a gig, basically.
Absolutely.
And I never expected it to be to have this longevity, but it's been great. It's changed a lot. It's changed a lot with the advent of the cord cutters like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's okay.
But so the industry keeps changing, and you just kind of keep rolling with it. But since Meredith and I, she got into this game a lot longer. She's been acting a lot longer than I have. It's changed so much. I mean, there's so much content now, but
this one commercial that I just did that had a breakdown that said, like, you know how they say the usage, like, you know, where it's going to be used and everything. This one said just media, and I was like, so just everywhere.
You think,
Instagram, Facebook. What they mean by that, I think, is like social media. Like a lot of them are Instagram ads and shit like that. But I'm always like, media's
local newspapers. Media. It's so vague. So I know they're just trying to. It's a little tough. It's in terms of making a buck. It's getting harder. There are a lot of opportunities, but they're not opportunities that really can support a family.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Is it fun to act?
You just got to string it together. Oh, it's a blast. We have a really great time.
Like
I really love it. We've made some short films over the years together. We made a web series a while back. That was really fun. It's called Grip and Electric. It's on YouTube, and it's with our buddy Henry Thomas, who was he works a lot now. He's in The Haunting of Hill House. He was Elliot in E.T.
Of course.
He and I actually put them together for a while. He's in it. It's the first comedy thing I think that he's done, which is great. We had Janet Varney in it. She's a really great voiceover actress and improviser. And Lynn Shay was in it too. She's from a lot of horror films. Okay. So yeah, it was a really fun. We made that. We actually produced that. I co-wrote it, and we did it about the time that I was doing Parks and Rec. It was like very much in that vein of it's all about like a film crew and a very down on their luck film crew. I think the log line was follow the adventures of the people that the shittiest film crew in LA that carries things and plugs things in.
Cool. Okay, cool. I'd love to post that.
Yeah, we did that, and but yeah, being on set, it's just again, like, it's just all about the vibe and getting a good. It's what you do for a living. It's your work day, and so you want to be at work with people that you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And same thing when you're on stage or doing improv or something like this. It's nice to, know each other's tells or how you can like screw with each other on stage or whatever. I mean, obviously we're not doing that commercials because whatever, but
unless they want you to. I mean, unless they ask you to play around. I mean, and then again, like, you feel like those chains break off. You're like, okay, here we go. Let's get something fun going.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's so cool. Well, one of our questions that we also ask our guests is if you were to relate to anyone on Parks and Rec, not Burly, but if you could relate / resonate / see yourself in any of the characters on the show, who would it be? And it could be top 2 if you can decide.
Well, for me, these days I feel a lot like Ron. Losing my faith in everything. No,
I feel you.
No, but it's I love him. I love Ron.
Me too.
I really do, because he's such
on that guy. My God.
To me, it's like the beautiful loyalty of that character and the understated. I just love his understated emotion, and he's got to keep it together. But every now and then he gets totally hammered and loses his mind.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I love him. Oh my God, I'm trying to dig deep to see if there's any he loves love. I'm trying to think of any weird. Oh God, no, I think it'd have to be Ron.
Okay.
God, who else? And you know what? I love Retta. I love her so much.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines ever is like, they're on a camping trip, and it's like, what's your favorite kind of cake? He's like, birthday cake.
Oh,
birthday cake. That's like saying your favorite kind of cereal is breakfast cereal. And,
yes.
And Donna and Retta goes, "Ooh, I love breakfast cereal."
Yes, that's the hunting trip episode. I remember that.
Oh, it's so great. To me, she was so cool, so smooth. I love her.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of it, but I really like her in Good Girls, the one that she's in now. Yeah, she is, and it's such a different character, I feel, for her.
She's amazing, and she was one of the most. Yeah, I mean, she just got a deal with NBC, which is really thrilling to read about too. Like they want to keep developing projects with her.
Awesome.
And so again, with this whole, it's so cool to see the success of the cast. Everyone's doing so great. It's pretty amazing to see.
It really is. And they've all have their own different paths and separate paths. It's incredible. So that's so awesome. Well, we just appreciate you so much. This was so fun.
So much fun.
I feel like I could talk to you for 800,000 hours, but I will leave you be. It's just wonderful.
The feeling's mutual. I feel like next time we'll do more therapy.
Yes. Honestly, I may or may not, as a heads up, as we get into more episodes that have mouse rat or rat mouse, depending, I may ask you questions that we are just dying to know.
Feel free. You know where to find me. And I'll get in touch with Brad and Donna because I think that would be a great get, honestly. That if they're down for it, they're so much fun and they're so interesting. And their stories are probably way more entertaining than mine.
No, stop it. We loved it. It was perfect. Maddie, did you have anything else to say, though, before I let him go?
I just had this one question as a band member myself, like lurking in the back of my mind, because the only episode where you guys really play a lot of stuff that isn't Mouse Rat is the Valentine's Day episode. Yeah. And you kind of change things so they're not their actual jazzy feel, right? So I didn't know if that was you guys collaborated on that or if someone just showed up and was like, this is how we're doing it. Well, you kind of had to change the style.
We did. And that's a great question. We were a little bit like wide-eyed with terror that we had to do that. We was like, what? Okay. And, but Mark Rivers with these great demos that were basically like, I think this is how they would play it. I mean, this is the guys that basically always gravitate toward a G chord would probably, they would avoid bar chords as much as possible. They would, and they would get, but there are some of like, yes, bar chords. But he was like, I think they would sort of go with this beat that is as sort of uncomplicated as possible. And it'd be like, well, I want to learn it for the old people. So he was doing it almost like an actor study, like a character study, like how, like do this, but in the style of them, which again is like a great improv game. Like do this, but in the style of the Beatles, or do this in the style of Marvin Gaye or whatever. And that's a great question, but I think he kind of roughed it out and we just sort of followed a lot. Like I put on distortion on my guitar. Like that would be like a little hint of distortion would be what they would do. They wouldn't just play it like nice and clean. They would have a little bit of the pit in it,
Yeah. A little bit of that grunge rock kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. We really liked the arrangements. We were really like, when we reviewed that episode, we were like, wow, we would really listen to this, I feel.
Yeah, the way you look tonight was like, I loved that, the way, and Chris's voice on it was great, and I really liked that arrangement.
Thank you. That's all Rivers. That's all Mark Rivers. And I got to say, I think that track is getting a lot of play on Spotify, weirdly. If you look at the number, maybe I dreamt that, but it's like, wow, people are, if you look at it, it's like the number 2 version of that song or something like that. You're like, what? If you do a fact check, you can check that out and be like, you're wrong. Really sorry. Delusions of grandeur.
Honestly, I'm not going to fact check it. I'm going to believe it because I would believe that.
Yeah.
I need to, I was going to say I want to like buy the record so that I can support you guys. But then I was like, oh wait, they're not getting anything, but I can still get it. Who cares?
That's fine. The people at Dual Tone are really cool people. I did a Reddit thing for them. I did a question and answer for them, and they reached out to me. They were super cool.
That's awesome.
They were very grateful for it. And honestly, like anything that keeps the show and the love of the show going is really good for everybody involved.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you again.
Well, thank you guys both. Really nice to meet you both.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
Tell Meredith hi, and that we really appreciate all of her amazing work.
Cool. I'll let her know for sure.
Thank
you guys stay
so
warm.
Okay, thank you. You too. Have a great night.
Bye. You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
Yay! Oh my God, I really felt like I could talk to him for 100 hours.
Oh no, I feel like I think we just hit it off on a lot of different points. The fact that we all went to school in Boston and we all love music, and then you've got the acting part to it too. And then I didn't mention, but like he spent 6 years in Chicago, which I'm also partially
right. I knew there was too much,
and he's so chill.
Yeah, he really gave me a Mel Cowan kind of vibe. Red-faced man, for those 100%. Of you who don't remember his real name. But yeah, I really felt I was having just a conversation with a friend, which was nice. And I really appreciated that he was like shouting out all the cast and like the second team and all that stuff. So that was super cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think it's also cool for us because, I mean, we've talked to a lot. I feel like we've interviewed quite a few people now, but we haven't had an angle like that, like someone who knew someone already through school, and also someone who's like kind of a background character, but like with the music, you know, because I don't think we've talked to anybody about like what it would be like to be playing music on a TV show. And he kind of had that. That gist. Yeah. So it was cool.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that they were all musicians. I love all the great nuggets that we got about them playing together and them being an actual band, which was like super cool. So yeah, I'm just very grateful that we got to talk to him, because I really felt like I was talking to like a rock star fan.
No, yeah, 100%. Well, I think he just solidified why Parks and Rec is so authentic and we can relate so hard with it, is because you never feel like they're playing you. Right? Like everybody was playing their instruments. Everyone put the effort in like a real band would to, you know, put these shows on. So it was like they were putting the effort in for us to feel connected and feel the authenticity of it.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's cool.
And I felt like there was probably 800,000 more questions that I totally could have asked. And I felt like I got as specific as I could with the episodes that he was in without like spending, 5 hours of his time. So if there are questions, he is super responsive. Obviously, let's not be like pestering him, but I think that if there were specific questions, he'd be happy to answer them. So cool that we got to talk about his wife. I love that they're acting together and doing stuff together. Super fun.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. Awesome. Yeah, so we'll have to keep up in mind any questions, especially if you guys are listening and you have a question that you're going to want answered. It sounded like he was pretty cool about answering.
Okay, so next we got to get Mark Rivers and then maybe Alan Yang. Oh, that's another thing I didn't actually tell him. Well, he probably knows, but I was going to say like Alan and Rob Lowe have their own Parks podcast, so they need to come on ours. Or we can go on there. I don't even care. But it was super nice.
So we need to just chill together.
Yeah, what a dream to talk to a band member, man. Like that was just top tier. Love it. Super casual too. Oh my God. Anyways, okay, I'm going to stop ranting and fangirling because it was wonderful.
No, I think it's worth mentioning because I feel like we've had that with almost every guest we've had, where we get into this rhythm where they don't feel weird with us asking certain questions. And we do get into a little bit of therapy moment because we're able to just build that. They're so authentic already. It's not like,
and it's something
I'm famous and you're asking me questions.
Right. Well, and a funny through line I feel with the therapy of like half the reason why we get into therapy is because of something stupid or traumatic that happened in the industry. So it's only natural that we talk about it.
So true.
But anyways, it's wonderful. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this, and we hope that you have a lovely week/weekend or whenever you're listening to this. We have our next episode coming up that we're going to finally get back to reviewing some shows. And then hopefully within that, we'll hear some more from guests. But I think we've been on a good roll, and hopefully if you haven't listened to Shauna yet, that you will do that soon because it was wonderful. But that's kind of all the housekeeping notes I have. Was there anything that you have left to say, Maddie?
Nope.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
it.
And you probably heard Phoebe, as you might be even hearing her now because she is crazy. But if you hear a cat, that's her. So thanks so much. But anyways, okay, you guys. Well, thanks again. Thank you, Burly. We really appreciate it. Follow him on Instagram. I'll post everything that he talked about in the show notes. I'll even post that YouTube commercial for the Angry Birds because it's super funny from that Geico commercial. So anyways, we'll talk to you soon.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.